Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily BizLink. Jane Cebrynski is back, and today we're diving into the topic of the power of our story. So, Jane, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Happy Thursday.
Happy
So
Thursday.
here we are at the end of April. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Tomorrow will be the last day. So give me a 10 moment.
My 10 moment is actually an upcoming event, not something that's already happened in my life. Today, I am doing lunch with my intern from a couple of years ago. She just graduated from college and she's looking to jump into like her professional journey. And oh my goodness, it's just so cool to see how far she's come over those last couple of years. So really excited to reconnect with her. So that's by far a 10 moment.
Oh, yay. That's so fun. Awesome. So I thought we could just talk about the power of our stories because, they can be very powerful and they do shape our lives, both positively and sometimes negatively. But we have the ability to change our stories if we want to.
Yeah, I think this is something really powerful, right? How can we build off of what's happened in the past to get us to where we want to be moving forward in the future?
Well, we spend a lot of time with, our clients having that conversation around the facts of their stories, both personally, professionally, and philanthropically. And sometimes what we uncover, and, I've done the work myself, but sometimes we discover that through experience or life, while the stories might be facts, they could be a performance barrier. They could be creating a negative behavior that's really holding us back. And we have the opportunity to really look at those stories and those truths and determine, do they still serve me? And is this a story I might want to change?
Yeah, I think that's great. We have the power to change those if we want to.
Well, and I think what's super important to understand, like, for example, if you've got a story that maybe was told to you by somebody else, let's say in school, you didn't do great in English and a teacher told you you're never going to be a great writer. If you build that in to your story and a fact, like, and you start telling everybody, I'm not a great writer, I'm not a great writer, but in your heart, you really have a super strong desire to write. So it becomes a question of whether or not you want to believe that story anymore. You want to hold on to that story. And if you want to change it, you have to change the way you think about it. And sometimes that's anchoring in a new truth for yourself. So you can begin the process of saying, you know what, I'm a great writer. And you can then begin that process of, doing the work to cultivate that mindset and that truth for yourself, if that's what you really desire in your life, instead of holding on to, well, my teacher said I was never going to be a great writer, so I'm not a great writer.
Yeah, I think this is such a great topic and very timely for me. I mean, I do a lot of work in marketing and branding, and this is such a huge component when we're building our personal and or professional brands. Yes, we could define it based on what we've accomplished year to date, but we also need to start integrating some of those components of where we want to be tomorrow. So, Jane, I know you do some public speaking. I do some of that as well. I've had some people reach out to me recently saying, I would love to do that. How do you do that? And I'm like, well, part of it is building that brand, saying that I have a passion for this and I want to be a public speaker. So you define yourself as a public speaker, and that's when opportunities start to present themselves. So that's just something that I've recently seen and taken away from some of my conversations.
Well, and I have a couple of thoughts about that too. If you want to write, and you can be a writer. And if you want to be a musician, pick up an instrument and play it. There's nothing that says you've got to go out there and be famous or fantastic at it, have a huge audience to declare yourself these things. But we oftentimes judge that. And as you talk about corporations, the work that I've done with some of my corporate teams is very, very important around the truth, because it's like, are your actions supporting the truth you're telling, or is that really not a truth? So if you're like, okay, we are a super collaborative team, but the truth is nobody ever talks to each other, then you've got to go, okay, if we want to make that our truth, then what's the work that we've got to do? What's the practice that we need to incorporate so that we are actually starting to live that truth? And, this exercise can be done if you want to change, negative habits, and you want to be more of a positive person. You can rewrite that story. Thoughts?
Yeah, it reminds me of, a couple different scenarios, but even as we're talking, we're talking about writing or becoming a musician, but as we are trying to put ourselves out there, a lot of times we get in our own heads and we talk ourselves out of it. I'm not good enough. I don't have the experience. I don't want to put it out there in the world. I'm scared of doing that.
Mhm.
Well, I think we should start getting out of our own way. I've been amazed. One other recent thing that's popped up in my world, I've been podcasting for a little while now, but I don't have hundreds of podcasts. I have a little over 100 if you include my official podcasts that are on iTunes and
Right.
everything, and then including all of our stuff like these daily BizLink things. But I'm seen in the market as being a podcast pro, and it's funny, I'm actually contributing to a national publication as it relates to podcasting. Did I ever think that I would be the one when I started doing podcasting that's what I would be doing? There is no way in heck. So
I know.
hopefully that just offers some motivation to those individuals tuning in for this episode, that you don't have to know it all, be it all, have a huge, portfolio of work in order to be considered, somebody that's looked up to as it relates to some of those areas of practice.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful because, sometimes that's where I go back to whether or not the truth serves you. It could be something that how you were raised and something your parents have said or something that's happened to you that you're holding on to. And then it becomes, what holds you back. So really just kind of letting go of that and going for the life that you want. We all only have our own lives to live, and we've just got to go for it and take some risks, take some chances, but create new stories every single day. Life is an opportunity for us to rewrite our story and create new stories every single day.
Absolutely. So Jane, with all these ideas in mind, what would be your challenge of the week?
Yeah, I would just maybe take a few minutes and write down some of the facts of your story, whether it's personal, professional, it could be something right now in the moment, and really ask yourself, okay, is this a truth you want to hold on to? How does it serve you? Is it a truth that you can acknowledge and say, it no longer serves me, and therefore I want to create a new truth for myself? And write that down, and then just ask yourself the question, like, what do I need to do to practice being that person?
Practice and consistency. I think that's also a key component.
Yeah, we've got to practice everything.
All right, Jane. Well, thanks again for joining us for this episode.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Have an awesome weekend.